Hey, we're back with part two with Morgan from Billet BMX. Stay tuned. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel, and thanks for stopping by. Hey, today we are back with Morgan from Billet BMX. We are here to kind of talk about the parts that are going to be on the Race Inc. build that's coming up really soon. We received the parts, and I thought today we would talk with Morgan about each part specifically, and then he can give us a little bit of the behind the scenes of what went into the creation of each part. But first of all, hey, how's it going, Morgan?
Going good. Pretty
Hey,
pretty hot out here in Long Beach, Southern California. How about you guys?
yeah, it's pretty hot here,
It's
right?
pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hot. So, hey, thanks for joining us today. And, thanks for shipping over the parts to us. We're super stoked at taking a closer look at them today. So let's start off with the chain tensioners that fit on this special Race Inc. bike in that kind of like that weird dropout that's a little bit bigger than the rest. So, since this is kind of like one of the first parts you were working on, why don't you tell us a little bit about the chain tensioner and what went into the design of this?
So I had my 3/8 chain tensioners, and I was already selling those. And then Art over at Race Inc. Basically reached out and said, "Hey, we want you to make something for our Race Inc. frame, which has the enlarged 20 millimeter dropout that you can actually run a 20 millimeter axle." Now, when you buy the complete Race Inc. bike, not just a frame, it has a 3/8 axle that it comes with, and they have two aluminum 7075 black washers that go on basically, and it adapts it down from 20 to the 3/8 size axle. The issue is it's so big, they didn't really have a chain tensioner when these frames and the idea first came out. And the idea is you could run 3/8 with the adapter, but also you could go up to a 20 millimeter, or even I believe they have a 15 millimeter axle by box too. An option for that is what they're trying to do. So the guy wanting to go extra large and get that stiff, rigid, axle frame setup, that's what that's supposed to do. But again, the completes that people buy all have 3/8. And I know you're building yours correct with 3/8, Kevin, on female hubs
Yeah.
on your build. So basically, I had to take my 3/8 tensioner, and I made a stainless steel adapter that comes in the back. You basically put it on the male axle first. Looks like Bernie may have that in his hand.
Yeah.
It goes in there, and then my chain tensioner just slaps on the outside, and then the axle nut holds it on. Those chain tensioners are about twice as tall and way longer than my 3/8. I know you have my 3/8, so
Yeah,
you
this
can see
guy's
those going
beefy.
in hand like, wow, that's probably the biggest chain tensioner for a BMX bike. But on the frame, it's very proportionate. It looks great. But there's a lot of distance to cover because this, again, is 20 millimeter. There's 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. So it's right under an inch. The size is pretty massive.
It is,
Pretty,
man. This thing
yeah,
is massive.
it's massive. But you hold it up to the frame, it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks good on there. It doesn't look big or clunky. So basically, I made an insert that's stainless steel. I was thinking about doing aluminum, but again, I make all my stuff for guys that are 300-pound big riders, and I want my stuff to last. So I went stainless steel because it's a lot stronger than aluminum. So you put that insert in, you just put my tensioner, and there's not two pieces. It locks the axle with the tensioner. It's internal bolt, and you can crank it down and get that chain real tight, and it stays tight with this setup. It doesn't typically loosen up or anything. Our chain tensioners work very well, and they also look aesthetically pleasing. And we got multiple colors in those chain tensioners, and I actually did some chrome that I'm waiting to get back from the chrome shop.
Oh,
And I actually
chrome.
I was
picked
waiting a
up
long
hot paint
time.
for the racing tonight that I just got back from the anodizer and getting engraved.
Yeah, so one of the things that I really, really like about your chain tensioner is just the fact that, I mean, it looks really good, right? But it also has that bolt that's hidden away. So like there are some chain tensioners out there that have the bolt, you know, the one that you kind of like will cinch down to give that tension.
Mm-hmm.
They stick out, you know, out of the back, and then that becomes, you know, a little sharp if you get, you know, if you're not too careful, and then that might hit your foot at some point or your leg. So I really like what you've done here with hiding that bolt. And you know, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit on the first episode, but share with us your philosophy on parts, because it's not just about creating a part. You don't just go and make a part just to make a part. I mean, when you and I talked on the phone before this, one of the things that impressed me about your philosophy was this whole thing of where, you know, you want to make this even better than what it is now. So share a little bit about how this came about.
Correct. So most chain tensioners have a bolt that hangs out the back. Um, it's ugly. You know, if you can hide bolts. I come from the automotive industry, so really into hot rods and just making stuff look better or aesthetically pleasing. So hiding that bolt obviously looks good than some ugly bolt that you adjust sticking out the back. So you put the key inside, and that's an Allen key, and that's how you adjust it. Same thing with our stems. All of them are bolts on the bottom. You don't see them on the top. So I try to hide a lot of hardware if possible and make it more about the design, and not have elements. You know, obviously you need certain things to make something functional, but you can hide it and streamline it and make it clean. You know, my opinion, the bike's going to look better. So that's kind of why we did that. Also, all of our, you know, the adapters are stainless steel, and our bolts that adjust it are stainless steel on those tensioners also. So we use all stainless steel hardware, so it, you know, doesn't rust, lasts longer. It's stronger, doesn't strip out as easier. You know, sometimes people do over tighten stuff, unfortunately. So hopefully that part's going to last longer and, you know, not have any issues. So that's why we upgrade also the hardware on it. And then our little shield also comes off, and we have a skull and a little weed leaf, and we're going to have more options. And you can also get those in different colors. So like if you have a blue tensioner, you can maybe want a red shield because you have red, white, and blue theme on your bike, for example. So that's kind of another cool feature. Also, the shield, you know, it's like a V. On the bottom, it points to the number. So let's say you tighten your chain, and if your frame's straight, you could have one number on one side and the matching number, and have the tensioners perfectly adjusted. So
Yeah.
a lot of times those tensioners, you just, all the other brands, you adjust them, and you don't know, like, hey, is my left in the same position as my right?
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
no
or
indicator.
passenger side, or however you want to call it. So the numbers do that, so you can really kind of lock it in, to get that straight. As long as the frame's straight, then, you know, it would be even, and the axle's straight, and everything's perfect geometry. So that's the point of the numbers. And the shield kind of points to that on there, and that's like the indicator kind of dial.
Yeah.
I would.
I mean, it's a really smart way to use that shield. You know, the shield is your logo, right? And it's
Correct.
really smart to be able to like have that pointing down to the numbers on the bottom.
Yeah. So that was kind of part of the design, and
Yeah.
I wanted something cool. You know, a lot of stuff just real flat and just a lasered logo. Like the shield sticks out. Your axle nut's obviously going to stick out too, so it doesn't stick as far out as the axle nut, but gives that three-dimensional look and a little extra, a little more details. So there's a lot to that design of that that chain tensioner compared to a lot of stuff that's, you know, a $30 tensioner.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Racing reached out to me because a lot of the guys with the two washers that come with the bike, the axles were slipping and the chains were getting loose. So not every customer, but some customers were complaining, hey, you know, we need a solution. So he reached out to me. I came up with this. It's an awesome solution. Adapter, all-in-one chain tensioner. Again, you can match the colors of the bike, all that. So I would say the best product you can get for Racing on the market. Very unique item. It only fits a Racing frame. Racing came out with a U-shaped adapter that's stainless steel. They call it Armor, and that clamps onto the frame. That kit is like $60, but you still don't have a chain tensioner. So it's basically it follows the dropout.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, for $60, you still don't have a tensioner to put on there, and they only come stainless. They don't come different colors. That's a great solution too. But if you get that, you're still going to need a tensioner. You know, the cheapest tensioners are usually start at $30. So our kit's $79.99 right now, and you're going to get a high-end CNC tensioner. You know, it's made out of billet aluminum, fully anodized, and it comes with the stainless adapters all in one thing. So it's a nice kit, and once you get it and understand what it comes with, the price totally makes sense. But it is expensive to make, and also our tensioners are very thick. The thickness, a lot of tensioners you get, the cheaper ones are very thin, and a lot of guys complain to me, "Hey, I bent tensioners on different bikes and frames," and that was one of the things that reaching out, hey, how can I make a better tensioner when I first got started, was, hey, make it stronger. So obviously strength comes with thickness, and so they are thicker. You know, obviously don't bend. The other thing that our tensioners are going to do is protect that frame. So if you just take it, a lot of times on a regular frame, you put an axle nut. Over time, taking off your wheel on and off, it starts scratching the powder coat on the frame. So our tensioners not only keep the chain tight, but they protect your dropouts. So your frame looks nice, so it lasts a very long time. And
That's true.
you know, hopefully all your powder coat's not chipped off and your frame's exposed and it's all chewed up. So that can happen a lot of times without some kind of protection. So there's multiple purposes of the chain tensioner, not just actually keeping it tight. So it's a pretty cool part. When I started getting into bikes, before I even made any parts, one of the first things I would do, I'd put chain tensioners on everything. And then that's why I wanted to make one internal bolt and add some stuff on it where you could change it up and have a lot of different colors and all those things to try to improve the design and offer something better for everyone, you know, that was already currently on the market.
Yeah, because back in the day, I don't know, do you ever remember chain tensioners on BMX bikes when we were riding?
Yeah, I remember.
Because I don't remember ever using one.
No, I never.
But like on all of my big BMX bikes, I make sure that I have one, just because it's so much easier to like just kind of lock in, you know, exactly where that axle is going to be, to lock in the tension that you want on your chain, and then it kind of keeps it there, right? You don't have to worry about anything slipping later on. So I really like having the tensioners. So we got the tensioner now. Let's talk about the bolts, because I think a lot of people know you as the D's nuts guy, right? Like you have, you know, that those bolts for the axles, and then you sent us over some. These are for, it's the bigger one. Where's the bigger one? Yeah, for the female hubs that we're gonna.
Yeah, so
we're hoping we're gonna get soon.
Yeah, most BMX bikes are male hub. Basically, the hub has two threaded studs or bolts that hang off, and you have a nut, which is female, that then screws on each side. That's how you tighten it. On the higher end BMX hubs, they're typically female, and you have a bolt that screws into the hub, and so you basically how you attach it is a male bolt.
Yeah.
And then it's reversed, and the female hub is basically threaded inside. So I had the 3/8 axle nuts, 12 points, so they wouldn't get scratched every time you take them on and off. Because typically, if you run typically nuts will be like silver or black, and that's the only option. And it's steel or chromoly, cheaper hardware. So I came out with the 12 point. I have like 12 colors in those right now. So all the colors to match your bike. A lot of guys just want it because, I can match it with the color of my theme, and it just looks great.
Exactly.
12 point, how it's relieved, protects the nut from getting scratched.
Yeah.
But then all the female hub guys, those started doing really well for us. The female hub guys are like, hey man, I wish I had that 12 point nut. I just have the tapered volcano, and I really want your D's nut. I like the D's nut logo, and the 12 point's real pretty with the contrast of the color.
Yeah.
The silver, you had red or blue, and like blue in your circumstance. So everyone wanted that. So I'm like, what if I make a volcano nut with a bolt and make it look 12 point? And then basically that's what I pulled off, and that's the product you have right there. So
that is brilliant, Morgan.
Yeah, so that's 3/8 with a threaded 24 millimeter TPI, 3/8 by 24 TPI threaded bolt. So most female hubs are that size. Profile uses a 3/8 by 16. Which next batch I'm going to make some of those for those guys, and but those are, for some reason on female hubs it's 3/8 by 24, or the profile is 3/8 by 16. That's probably 99% of the hubs. There's a GT that comes with super lace hubs, and it has female bolts. It's a complete bike, and basically that's why I include the bolt, because they have a bolt with a 17 millimeter head. It's just like a chromoly chrome bolt.
Mm-hmm.
But I made these, and you get the bolt, and those you take off, and those screw right in. So profile, you can actually reuse your bolt with just my washer, but I sell the bolt included for the GT guys. And I am looking into getting titanium. I have a couple of customers, and Pat Koo, which races, he wants titanium ones to be out there racing on. So I'm going to make a titanium, basically bolt option too, for female hubs. Because the stainless is a little bit of weight if you hold it.
Yeah.
There's some weight, but it's not going to rust, and it's very strong. So most of the time you
Exactly.
get hubs, it's just basic steel or maybe a chromoly. Stainless is going to be a lot stronger, and then titanium, you're going to get the strength and lighter weight. But
Being light.
titanium costs the most. That's like the most expensive material.
Yeah.
It does cost more than stainless. So you pretty much got basic steel. Then you're going to get into the chromolys, a little more money, and then the stainless steel is one of the stronger options, a little more money. Then titanium, would be even more money. So that's kind of the difference in the material.
And then I also noticed, even on the bolt, you have the bolt kind of etched with the
Yeah, it has
BMX
my
logo.
shield on the bolt. So that is a custom piece of hardware. So there's a certain size that sticks out of our 12 point, and you need enough thread to go into the female hole, but our 12 point on the end is a little taller than a volcano. So basically we made a custom bolt for that. So that bolt is actually machined by us, and then we laser engrave it with our shield. Just little details. When you install, you don't see it, but guys get it and go, wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought and detailed process behind a lot of the parts we make.
Oh, yeah.
There's little details that people don't even realize till they get it.
Because I'm sure you probably could have used like a cheaper bolt. You could have just found the bolt off the shelf, kind of like use the cheaper one and just made it fit. But like this is a bolt that is custom made just for this.
Correct. So I have female hubs on some of my bikes, and they typically, these hubs are very expensive. They're easily $300 to $600 plus. There's hubs that are $1,000 on the market, depending, what you're getting and stuff like that. But if it's a lot of them are freewheel that screws on. Those are lower cost. But if it's internal and has everything inside there, they're very expensive. But a lot of those still come with a black bolt, and you have that on your bike for a year. Then I noticed it starts turning brown and rust coming out. On them. So I'm like, man, I hate that. Like, why can't we spend another $5-10 on getting better hardware? So they don't rust. And if you're spending that money on a show bike or a very nice bike, especially you guys that live in Hawaii, I live in Long Beach by the beach and ride by the beach.
Rust.
Salt.
Salt air.
You have a nice set of hubs, and then again, a year later they're rusty and brown. And they look all gross. So that solves that problem right there, and that's why I went stainless, and it's stronger. So
I'm wondering how many guys are gonna like use a socket on this though, because it'll fit, but then nothing will. You got to use the Allen, right? Because it's like
Yeah. So we actually made that a 17 millimeter. Our 3/8 nut is 15 millimeter. I couldn't fit the bolt in the 15 millimeter. There wasn't enough room, so I enlarged it to 17. So the outer diameter is a little larger than our 3/8.
Okay.
But it actually fits perfectly on a socket. So you could actually put a socket or a wrench, and it will spin. That won't tighten it.
And it'll spin, but nothing will happen.
Yeah, you have to use the center bolt, which is an Allen key.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, one side is engraved Billet BMX. The other side says These Nuts. Both are trademarks. So again, you can clock it. If you want to see These Nuts, you can clock it where you look down to your bike, it says These Nuts. If you don't like that, you can turn it 180 and it'll say Billet BMX. So that gives the customer the option to clock it, and then he can hold that with a wrench or his hand, and
That's
then
awesome.
he can tighten the bolt to clock the logo. Little details like that I do on my bikes. Not everyone knows, but there's some of the bike builders that really enjoy that little stuff where they can, even clock the logo on the hardware on the washers. So little silly things like that, but it's a lot of fun.
I think you'll have some guys that are like really into, just building like the perfect bike. And if they put it into a show, like they might be very, conscious of that, and they might be purposeful in which way they spin it. So that's cool though, that you can do it either way.
So some of the guys that are really meticulous on their builds and everything's perfect, they've noticed that. They're like, oh, this is really cool. You could clock it. I like the D's nuts. Or again, some guys that I like just the Billet BMX with the little shield engraved logo. So again, it gives them the option to go either way.
So that leads us into the next. It's one of your newer parts, and that's the bolt for the brakes, because it's a very similar type of bolt, but small.
Pretty much like
that is the big brother, and this is like
nut, but a lot smaller. So a lot of V-brakes basically have two pieces of hardware that hold on the V-brakes on all our BMX bikes. Unless you have discs, that's a totally different thing. But I wanted a nice bolt that was 12-point for the V-brake bosses that hold the arms on. And so I made basically the same version of the axle nut, machine that to get it there. And it's pretty small, but that cost me as much to make and as time as the bigger version. It's just a little less
crazy.
material.
Yeah.
There's a ton of detail. That's a little piece of
man.
jewelry.
That thing is sick.
Yeah, but I've been killing it on those because a lot of guys just have black hardware, which is, again, it's just a black steel bolt and it's ugly. You put that on your brakes, it's night and day. And I make them in chrome and all the anodized colors. And I've been getting a lot of pictures from customers. I'm like, wow, that looks awesome with all different kinds of brakes with my bolts. And it just takes those brakes from just basic to the show look. And it's just really pretty. The other issue is I have some brakes and it's kind of like a volcano shape bolt, and it's aluminum, but it's one piece. So if you ever over tighten that, the head just rips right off. So that's the same thing. I went stainless steel on that bolt.
That is so smart.
So hopefully it doesn't strip. Like, you can still strip it. You can strip anything, right? But it's not like aluminum where you just snap it off. So again, stainless steel bolt, but the washer is aluminum. That's 12-point. I had a guy message me this weekend on Instagram that he bought them for all his bikes. A lot of guys buy that part for one bike, and they go, this is so awesome and nice. And they go, I need all the colors for all 10 of my bikes. I did that. And he had one of his, he had the aluminum version on one of his brakes, and it actually, he took it out and it was stripped, and a bunch of metal and shavings got in his brake boss. So he had to retap his brake boss. And then he put mine in and he reposted, like, I'm so glad Billet BMX has this in stainless steel. So he just knows it'll never strip like the aluminum. The aluminum's really, that's small of a bolt. It's not that strong. And it's also, on V-brake, it kind of just holds it there. You really don't need it tight, but a lot of people over tighten it or like it really tight. But on a disc brake, for the disc brake bracket to the frame, if those aluminum bolts, some guys lose those same bolts. If those aluminum bolts shear off, you have no brakes. And there's a lot of force. If you're coming downhill, hauling butt, and you're a heavy guy and you hit those brakes, and if that bolt were to shear off, like, you have no brakes and you could get really hurt. So, this same bolt, I engineered it, and it works on bikes with disc brakes. So it works on all of them, from the frame to the disc brake bracket. On my SCs, it actually works to hold the caliper onto the bracket. So you could actually run 4 of them on the brake setup. And then they also work on the front too, on all those bikes. So I have a Zeus e-bike, and one part of the caliper holding it on, and there's another part of the caliper that's really close to the disc, and it's too close. So I'm going to shave actually down. It's aluminum, you can actually shave it down easy. So I'm going to kind of shave it down a little bit, and it'll be towards the brake where you won't see it, to make it where it doesn't chafe. But I can't control where people put holes and thread brackets. Like, however the bike comes, it comes. I can only make the hardware. So, they all fit on the side bracket, but some of the calipers, maybe only one fits. So it just depends. The disc placement, how thick it is, the brake, all that kind of stuff. But I have that PK Ripper fat tire, the pink one, and I have it on the front, 4 of them, and the rear, and the D's nuts axle nuts, and it looks really cool. So another cool thing for disc brake guys that want to dress it up and get that anodized color again to match their theme. It makes a huge difference over black hardware and weak, aluminum hardware on that part.
And that's the thing that I really like about your parts too, is that not only do they look good, they're made, with quality materials, like, the fact that you're making these bolts all on your own, but then you're also coming out with just a ton of different colors. So no matter what colorway that you're trying to go for your bike, chances are you're going to be able to pick up parts that will match that colorway, because you got quite a few of them. Yeah,
and I'm actually going to take that to the next level. I want a light blue, and we're gonna do like a teal turquoise in the
Oh,
nuts
there
and a
we
lot of the
go.
The
parts.
wife was just asking about that teal or
Yeah,
like
I think I'm
that
gonna bring them
Tiffany
to the
blue.
stems, seat post clamps. I think I'm gonna do the whole line and actually start maybe making pedals on the next batch.
There you
Just you
go.
got that really cool bike I saw and you tagged me the other day on Instagram.
Yeah,
Like,
the
man,
Supercross.
yeah, the Supercross. I'm like, those are really cool colors, and it's very hard to get those
Yeah.
colors. And I'm probably not gonna make a ton of it because those colors aren't for everyone. But I'm like, man, I need to make all my pieces and make a few of them for customers that want them. And so we're gonna go up to about I think like 12 colors we're gonna have on the axle nuts. So some of the other axle nuts aren't as popular. Different. The 3/8, like 90% of bikes come with that. So that I'm gonna make 12 colors. Some of the other sizes like 14 millimeter or the ones for the zoos, they get popular enough. I'll expand and make more colors, or people ask for them. So
Yeah.
I still obviously want to make thousands of dollars of parts, and they just sit on the shelf too. So
Absolutely.
rather use that money to make cool parts for you
Yeah.
guys, because it obviously does take capital to build all these cool
Well,
items.
and I think that's what people don't understand is that, like you're like a one-man band. Like you're it. If you watch
Yeah,
the other podcast, I'll put a link to that where you kind of talked about how, you do everything from all the design of the artwork that you use to the packaging to like, designing of the parts and getting them made. And then you then sit there in your office and you ship them all out. So, you do everything yourself. And so, when people think about, wow, like Billet BMX, when I was first looking at it, yeah, I thought it was like a multiple person kind of company, right?
yeah,
I was kind of shocked when you and I started talking and it was like, it's just you. And it's a lot of money to put together some parts. Like you shared with me a number. Let everybody know, like, how much does it cost to just bring one part, into production? Like, what does it cost you?
yeah. So when first I design something on my computer. A lot of times we'll start with a hand sketch or even an idea. Hey, how do we make this part better that I want to make? And then I got to design that. Then start making samples. I started 3D printing stuff to try to get costs down. Is like, I'm trying to see a size or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
That helps get, so like my platform pedal. I basically printed multiple sizes in that pedal, and I wanted them to hold them to the bike and look at them in my hand, because one thing you see on the screen is different when you see it in person. You actually get to touch
absolutely.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right?
Yeah.
in my mind, I think it's one size on here, but when I hold it, oh, it's way bigger or smaller. It doesn't look good. It's too small, too big.
Yeah.
So I do that to help, and then I got it like that platform. I had to make samples, and the samples will cost me 2, 3, 4 times the cost of what I'm gonna retail that part for. And so if I have to adjust it multiple times, I have to do that. And then to get the cost down, I got to CNC hundreds of that part to get the price down to do it. So a lot of people see like I made the seat post clamps, which I sell for $59.99. There's a lot of detail on those, which we're gonna go over. But I'm just to run on seat post clamps, I'm dropping over 10 grand. People don't realize,
Yeah,
it's
let's
just
bring that thing out.
$60. Yeah, but I got to make hundreds, to get the price down. So.
Sure.
And I think that's what people don't realize is that you got to put a lot of capital into the business just to get one part made. And speaking of a part that took a long time, like this is the new one of your newer products. This is that Shield seat post clamp.
The Shield seat post clamp. So that's the shape of our logo, which is right there on Bernie's blue shirt right there. It is the shape of the Shield.
See
So
that?
I kind of wanted to make a seat post clamp that shape of our Shield. I thought that would be cool, but then I wanted to put a shield in the front of it like our chain tensioners. So Kevin was messaging me, hey man, you have this on your website. It says coming soon. Like, I want it now. And that was honestly last August when he reached out to me.
Yeah.
Now it's, basically you barely got these a year later in August, and it took me that long.
Yeah.
And the reason because is the shield I had sitting out, like kind of like a diamond ring, it sat out like the chain tensioner.
Yeah, this part right here.
And I made 3D. I printed 3D prints of them, and I just didn't like it. I'm like, man, if I could flush it in and make it flush, it would just look so much sexier and better. And it took me 3 different styles of trying to recess it, how to attach it, and get that to work properly to where I was happy. And and that took about another 6 months. And then we went into production. Once we make them, then I got to anodize them and laser them and get them, package them, and it turned into a full year. So
Yeah.
So originally I had a separate piece that went in the front and it was attached to the back with the screw. But the problem is, to get that screw in, I had to drill out the back of the clamp where the bolt is. So it kind of had a hole in the back all the way to the front. And so if
Yeah,
you
it
looked
would
at
have been
that,
right here.
yeah, if you looked at the crack where it gets tighter to hold the frame of the bike,
Yeah.
there was a little hole. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that because I don't want that hole there. So like, I had to try to figure out a way to do it. So originally we had it sticking out, and then we did that. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, it's just, I could do better. I gotta try to figure out a solution. And so I ended up making a female pocket into the clamp, and then the shields already have a screw on the bottom and top. That's how they attach on the tensioner. They're little grub screws. So I'm like, what if we just put a hole in the bottom and we can get to that screw, and we'll just use one. It's going to be in that female pocket, so the pocket kind of holds it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we kind of just probably need one, and it won't come loose. The problem is how the shield, how far back that hole is. It was drilling the lip because the clamp's not flat in the front. It's at an angle like the shield.
Yeah. It's like that, right?
Yeah, so like the shield pushes in and it hits that point. Now if it was flat, I wouldn't have had to modify that hole, but I had to bring that hole back in the little shield to get the hole in the clamp far enough so it wasn't on the tip and destroyed the point of the tip of the clamp. I wanted it back on the flat par, and there's a chamfer, so I had to push it back like 2 millimeters and redesign the shield to make it a little longer to do that. And I finally got that correct, and there's a little baby hole in there, and we're gonna have different shields for that. You could change out to different logos down the road.
Oh, nice.
I can see that. Yeah, that's cool right there.
That was all the design. Also, the hardware on this, stainless steel, and most heat clamps have just a regular steel bolt that's threaded into the aluminum.
Oh, yeah,
the problem is some of the guys over tighten it, or over time, you can strip out the aluminum. So again, it's not a big bolt, and there's a lot of weight. If you're 300 pounds, you're sitting on that seat and seat post. There's a lot of weight that clamp has to hold, so it doesn't obviously move or fall down.
That is brilliant, Morgan. That is.
Yeah, so I made a stainless cylinder to go in there. Not the first person to think of that. There are other seat clamps that have the little stainless cylinder, but a stainless steel cylinder, stainless bolt. Right in. So, yeah, and if you do strip that out, which is very hard to do, but I'm sure I'll have a customer that figures out how to strip it out. But you could buy that cylinder and bolt, and then the whole clamp is not trash. You could replace that hardware and not have to buy a $60 clamp. So that was the point of doing all that. So that took a little time to kind of engineer and have a real trick and all that. So, and then also on the clamp, there's a lip on the top. So when you put it on your frame, it just doesn't fall down the frame. It bottoms out on the frame, and it won't go down any farther.
Yeah, I love that.
It helps installing it, and it also looks better when you look into it.
Clean.
It's a little tighter around closer to the seat post, so you don't see a biggest gap, and it looks prettier. So we did that, and then I just finalized a shim. That's a 31.8 for that Race Inc. millimeter. Okay. I have a shim that adapts it down to a 30 millimeter, which are on the Stu Thompson bikes. It's a unique size, but basically I'm going to be including down the road. Well, once I get my shims, I'm going to be including them with every purchase. And if you need it, you got it. If you don't, you can keep it for another clamper bike or throw it away. But basically the 31.8 will have a 30 millimeter adapter included, a shim that goes inside.
Cool.
And then I have a 28.6 clamp, which is typically the chromoly frames, like a Gary Turner, Bassett, stuff like that. And that's going to have a 25.4 adapter for basically the older bikes that have the smaller size too. So, and then...
See, because the funny thing was, okay, so we built up a Monza, right? So I built up a chrome Monza, stripped pretty much all the gold parts off of it and put just blue and chrome parts on that thing. And this is the clamp that I was waiting for to go on the Monza, but it's the wrong size. It's like I need the 25.4. So even if I were to get this one, this is too big. So I'm waiting for that 25.4 because that's the one that's gonna fit. That Monza is really, really small.
I can get you one of those. Well, if you want one, I have the samples I tested them, so I can get you that. Awesome. Again, going forward, I wanted to include them. That's basically a bike shop doesn't have to have like 4 different sizes.
Exactly.
They have 2 sizes and adapters that come with them. Keeps inventory down for them and myself.
Yeah.
To do that.
And that's good to have because I mean, you know, when you buy a bike, like you're not really like thinking about, oh, what kind of size seat post clamp do I need? It's like you're buying a frame because you want that frame. And then you got to figure out, oh, what fits on that one, you know? So it's nice that you're going to have the shims in there where we can use it on multiple bikes. And even if, let's say I want to take it off the Monza, I can take off the shim and now I can put it on another bike, you know? So I think
Yeah,
that's
if it
awesome.
fit like a couple different sizes, yeah. And then the 31.8 clamp is bigger. Like, so if you have that shield and you have the smaller one, the outside diameter is different sizes. I didn't just take one and punched it out different sizes and do shims. I actually I wanted a clamp that fit a 31.8 because that's a very popular size. Typically, all aluminum bike frames are that size most of the time. And then the 28.6 is all the chromoly frames these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted those to fit perfect. And I wanted it to match the sizing of the bike. So it looked very elegant. I didn't want it to look too big. So the 28 clamp is smaller than the 31s on my shields and the D's Nut style. And then I have the extra shims so they fit more options too.
So that's pretty cool that like you just totally like just kind of like shrunk down, you know, the bigger one so that it's more proportionate as well and it fits perfect.
Correct.
Like again, like more attention to detail that people probably wouldn't even know, you know, just taking a look
they
at
get
this.
the part and if they get the one for their bike, they install it and they don't know. But
yeah,
you know, if you were to have 2 bikes and you hold them, you go, wow, that's a big difference. Just like I have 3/8 nuts and 14 millimeter, you put them next together, like, wow, there's a big difference. Or again, the racing chain tensioner for the 20 millimeter down to 3/8 compared to my regular 3/8, you hold it in your hand and go, wow, there's a big difference. So I'm making parts not only have to fit correctly, but also the proportionate outer diameter of the product. Like I want it elegant and to look high end, and I want to fit that to that frame and make it look as best as possible. So little details people don't realize, but when I point it out and explain it like we are today, it's like, man, that's pretty cool. It makes a lot of sense, and you see kind of my thought process developing these items and products, and how far I go down and the time I spend to really bring this to market and have really cool items, you know, for these builds and all of our BMX customers.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, cool. Well, now you know why it took a year. I wasn't happy. If I'm not happy, I'm not going to make it. Even though Kevin emailed me multiple times throughout the year.
When is this coming out, man? I'm like, you have this up on your website coming soon, and it's like 9 months later.
Dude, Morgan will block you next time.
But hopefully now you know the behind the scenes story. Explaining it. You're like, all right, I'm glad I waited and made it the best product he could make, and that's what I'm all about. I want to come out again the best I can do. If I feel it's 90%, like I need to go that extra 10 to think of everything, think of all my customers, any complaints on other parts to make them better. Like I'm always trying to say, how can we make this? How can I make this the best as I can for you know, making a BMX product? And that's, if it takes a year, it takes a year. And it's a little seat post clamp, a little part, but it did.
You know? I mean, it makes sense, you know, and for me, just as somebody who just, you know, kept checking the website, I got a little frustrating. Like, when is this thing going to come out? Like, why is it taking so long? But now hearing, you know, all of the reasons why, like I totally understand why you then took the time that you did, even if it was going to have people getting frustrated. Like, it was like, you're trying to come out with the best part available. Right. And so, totally respect that, and you know, I really get it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. And then on our side, if I don't have an item, I will not let customers buy it, and I don't want to bill them because, again, I could think something I'll have in 30 days, and it could take another 6 months. And I'm not trying to be that guy or hold someone's money or have to deal with customer service or hurt my name as Billet BMX. So I basically put it on the site. This is going to come when it's ready. It's ready. But people can start checking it out. And then also you can sign up. You can actually select the color you want. And you can sign up for an email notification. Or you can actually sign up for your cell phone. And when that product hits in that color, I check it in on my website. It'll send out emails to all those customers. and they know it's available, and then you can go and buy it. So that's kind of the way I'm trying to run it. So like you can sign up on the list, you're going to get notified, and you'll know the day I have it, so you can purchase it and get it for your bike.
No, I remember that because I was gonna order something that you didn't have, and so I left my email on there, and then I got the notification on my phone. I'm like, okay, we're going.
Yeah, that's how I like to do business. I don't want to take people's money or do pre-orders, stuff like that. I don't know. I just feel it's the right way to do business, and my customers are my friends. I care. I'm very passionate about BMX, and like, I'm not trying to screw someone over on a seat clamp and hold them out, and they hate Billet BMX now. Like, BMX to me is a very fun thing, and really cool parts and bikes and friendships. Like me meeting both, Kevin and Bernie, you guys. So that's important. So that's kind of why I do that, and I don't want any hard feelings. You don't want to get between money with friends and customers and all that kind of stuff. I want to keep it fun and fun bike stuff. So
that's awesome.
The other thing I put on my website, new stuff that I'm working on, or like I just came out with bar ends and a really cool headset that's 12-point with a 12-point cap, and the bar ends are 12-point.
That is cool.
So I got them, and I have to test fit them. I have to make sure again, like the sizing's perfect, or if I need to adjust this. Like a couple of logos I feel are too big, and I got my trademarks go through. So now instead of the TM, I have the R with the circle. So I have to update that. Just little things to make it perfect before I spend thousands of dollars making a big run. So I have those parts up there. I start sharing on Instagram, and customers get mad. It's always sold out. I'm like, no, it's new. I'm just showing you guys.
It was never in stock. It was never in stock to begin with.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a new product, but you guys can sign up. But then if you guys like something, hey, this is really cool, thumbs up. Or, hey, I wish it was like this, or I don't like your logo like that, or, a lot of times I'll listen feedback to make adjustments to these parts. So sometimes I'll come to a kind of a product and I'm almost done, and I'm at a path where I can go this way or that way. I start asking all my friends, I'll post it on social media, hey, do you guys like my pedal, my platform pedal for my shield in the middle? I said, hey, do you want it just straight anodized over, or do you want it machined afterwards silver? And I put it up there, and the silver won. More people wanted that than the full anodized, and there's people on both sides. But I said, hey, I'm going to make the part like this. Even if I liked it the other way, I'm going to make it to the majority of my social media followers what they chose. And they decide on certain elements of my product. So that's the cool thing, where they get to vote and be a part of it. I think it's also cool. Like, if you guys, like, you saw that shield clamp, and you followed it until now, you have it, and then I explain it. So it's kind of a cool process. It's like we're a little BMX community or family, and you can see from when it was an idea to I have a sample I'm testing on my bike to now you're holding it on your hand, you're going to have it in your bike, and then you hear the story behind it. So it's kind of cool to see that evolution of my brand and the products we come out with, and get you guys involved as much as I can.
So if any of you out there are going to his website and you're looking for some of these new parts, and it says coming soon, and it looks like it says sold out because nothing's available, it's not ready yet. So just be patient, and rest assured that what Morgan is going to do is he's going to put it out when it's ready to be put out, and it's not going to come out any sooner because he wants it as good as possible. So again, that's a really nice job.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing of people signing up, there's certain colors I'm making. And maybe, I can, it tells me like, hey, 25 people want a red seat post clamp this size.
Good point.
So that helps me ordering what colors I need. I'm like, oh man, 25 people want that, but only 3 people want green.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to put more of my money to make more red, for example, or whatever color you want.
That makes sense.
So that helps me. So do try to get involved and put what you want, so I can order enough and produce the right colors. So when I make a part, I don't just make 50 or 100 of each one. Like, I stagger it, and certain colors are more popular than others. So I try to guess and order the appropriate amount for each item, but that's really hard to do. Like, I'll make something, like I made the purple skull stem. It's a really cool stem, has a full big skull on it, 57 millimeter. That Mr. Cartoon bike comes out, which is purple. I sold out of those in 1 week. So I didn't know that bike was coming out, and now I'm sold out. I got guys emailing me, hey, when are you going to have the purple skull stem? You're already out. But, obviously I didn't want to make too many and be sitting on too much inventory. It ties up a lot of my cash flow. So.
And speaking of stems, Let's take a look at the shield stem. I was really stoked on getting this. Like when I saw this, when you had it as previews, you know, like when it was up on your website, I was like, wow, this is a really, really cool design. I mean, obviously we're sticking with the shield, you know, design. But then what we're also doing with this is that, you know, it's one of the few stems in which you don't see any bolts on the top because the bolts are all hidden underneath. And I thought that was a really cool design. And, you know, yeah, you weren't maybe the first person to do that, but I really like that you did it with this one because, you know, number one, it keeps this really clean. Everything looks nice and there's no holes anywhere that you got to worry about. And then it just, you know, puts that stuff on the bottom. And I think it just looks really, really nice. So tell us a little bit about this.
So I wanted to make our exact shield logo, which is again on Bernie's
On
shirt,
all the
who's modeling
parts,
it for us.
right?
So that stem is the identical to the T, that logo, and I
It
wanted it
is.
all engraved. So normally stems have the bolts on top. The benefit of that, it's real easy to get to.
Yeah.
You know, if you're adjusting it a lot. But typically me, I install it in my bars. Maybe I'll adjust it a few times until I get my bars right. And I typically never touch it again unless I change out the bars. So I'm like, if I reverse mount them, I can get a bigger canvas to put a bigger logo or more artwork on that stem, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to make a real statement and be about the art and the logo and have this, you know, our shield, I would say, is kind of high-end, elegant. Like a Porsche has a shield or Cadillac.
That's
And that's
right.
why I originally made the brand. I said, I want to make high-end BMX parts that are like jewelry, and I've always loved shield logos, like those big car manufacturers. So
There you go.
that's why I went with that. And so I wanted the whole thing. My goal was to get the whole top cap that holds the bars to be the full logo, and so
Yeah.
that's
Well, you did it.
why we did that.
Speaking of
Yeah,
logo, look how big this print on this shirt.
yeah, it's an
Look at
excellent
that.
print. Takes up your whole back there.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much because, you
Yeah.
know, right there, man, you can show the whole
I owe you
world
money
who
for
you are.
advertising riding your bike around Hawaii.
I
All
put
that
this
free
shirt on. I'm
advertising.
like, oh, this logo is huge.
Yeah, it's a big logo. So so I put the bolts reverse, and same thing, stainless steel through the whole stem because they're all silver. I thought the silver looked good with the engraving to match.
Yeah.
And then on the back side, I engraved Billet BMX, which is this logo, like the logo on your hats. So you could reverse the stem. Most people, I don't think, would buy that stem to reverse it, but it is
No.
reversible. There's a fully engraved logo. So I got all that accomplished. I was real happy with the stem. But my first sample, the sides were perfectly straight, and it kind of looked like a coffin. And I had just the logo
Oh, I can
engraved on
see
the
that.
sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really happy with it. And then the stem weighed a lot because it's I had to make it 57 millimeter long so that the shield can't come into the hole that holds the forks on the steer tube. So I had to be backing up, and to get it wide enough in proportion, it had to be 57 to make that work.
Because this is already pretty heavy already, you know? So
Yeah,
it's
the
even
stainless steel
heavier
hardware
without,
weighs a little more.
without taking this part off, right?
Yeah, so the cap, I relieved a bunch if you take the cap off, and on the bottom. There's a big relief
on the
in
inside.
between the bolts where the bars sit. You can feel it in there if you put your finger, or when you go to install, you see it. So I did that to drop weight. And then I made 2 pockets on both sides of the stem. One for style and one for weight. It was just plain on the sides. I'm like, man, it's just not there. It's 90%. But so I made these really cool pockets with really cool engraving with like 45 chamfers. And then I put the Billet BMX logo. And then the logo on the side is anodized over. So it's there, but it's hidden. It doesn't
like
fight
that.
with the top or the bottom, but it is there if you look at it.
Yeah.
So it has that extra detail, but you kind of notice it's secondary after the fact. And I didn't want a bright silver on the sides and the top. I just really wanted that tight top. So it's just, this thing really just stands out to accomplish that. And then, go ahead.
I kind of feel like you got a lot already here, right, with that. So I really like that the side doesn't have that, you know, because and it's still there.
Like too much.
When you take a look at it, you can still see it. It's not gonna stand out like this, but it's still there. And I really like that because I think you already have some of the, you know, with the stainless bolts in the back, you already have that on both sides. And then you got, of course, you know, the beautiful design of the shield on the top. And I think that's enough. Like I don't think it even needs that. So I think that was a
Yeah, I
really
did.
nice move.
I wanted it the same color, but then when you see it, you see that pretty pocket, and you really start
Yeah.
respecting it. And
Yeah.
then you see Billet BMX again. It just shows that quality
Yeah.
and very
But
high end part. And like, man, they went over the top to put their logo again, but it doesn't clash with the
Yeah.
top. It's not too much, but it also makes it look an expensive piece or very high end
it
and
it
high
it
quality.
does look
So
very high end because you cleaned off the
The edges
lines,
too.
the edges,
Yeah.
yeah,
all
all
the
the edges have. I like my style, like a lot of 45 chamfers, so it
yeah,
has chamfers all the way around.
yeah,
And those chamfers all kind of match all the parts, like the same sizing of it.
Hmm.
And then originally the very back end where the bolts are, I wasn't happy it was straight. So I did the pocketing and I was happy, but then the back, it came straight and it just looked clunky to me. So right past the steer tube hole, I come back again. I come at an angle,
yeah.
and then I rounded it out, and it just was the icing on the cake.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
right here.
this
Yeah, yeah,
stem's
yeah.
ready. It's 100%, and I was
Yeah.
really stoked with that. Also, where the cap goes for the stem, it's recessed top
Yep.
and bottom. So if you have a flat cap, it'll be flush, and I
Hmm.
really like that look. The stem I'm making is going to have a taller cap, that this 12 point to kind of stick up, but I like the
Oh,
look of it
the
being in
cap, you
there and
mean
coming out.
the cap you're
Yeah,
making?
yeah. So, but it is recessed in there. I like that. So there's a lot of little details on there. A lot of times you see it or just a picture. When you hold it and start looking at it, and go, wow, there's a lot of thought process
Yeah.
behind that. Typically, most stems, again, even some high end, a lot of high end ones, black bolts. A year later, they're rusting.
True.
Again, stainless steel. If you put black in that compared to the stainless steel, it's night and day how it makes it look.
Yeah.
I remember getting the first sample, and I had to get the bolts spec'd and everything, but I had no bolts. I had the stem. I went to the hardware store, $35 to get those 6 bolts. In stainless steel, I paid locally so I could
Wow.
test it and install it on my bike. I'm like, man, that's crazy expensive, but that's what those stainless steel bolts are like over $5 a pop, and that's
Yeah.
what it cost retail if you go to a hardware store to buy them. A lot of people don't realize. So, I bought once I figured out sizes, I bought them and got them made in bulk and got the price down to make a nice stem package for you guys. But, there's cost that goes with it, but I think it's totally worth it to match the silver engraving and have stainless bolts that don't rust and all that kind of stuff. So it's over the top, and again, a lot of thought process to get there to that final item and final design.
Well, I think it definitely shows, and just stainless to me just beats anything except titanium, I guess. But I just, for us in Hawaii, especially, like I always have my stem bolts, the black ones, every single one rusts. I can shoot some stuff in there, WD-40 or whatever, and it always rusts. So I know that it's going to be nice when this goes on. I'm not going to have to worry about it. But yeah, and speaking of like, again, like pushing that limit a little bit, we're going to go into the last part that you sent us, and let's take a look at these because come on, man. Look at these pedals, right? I saw this. You had posted some stuff about having like, the white. So we got the white platform followed with, the blue cages, and you got the shield again, that iconic shield that's also chrome plated on there. I mean,
You could put that on a car.
No, so that the whole pedal CNC, the center and the cage, it's CNC. The shield is actually, I had an automotive company cast those for me. Originally, I tried to CNC them, but the aluminum was really thin and it wasn't as strong, and I couldn't engrave my name, Billet BMX, small enough. It lost a lot of, the cages are bigger, so it's engraved. The engraving on the cages is beautiful, exactly what I wanted. But originally, I made the shields out of aluminum, and the engraving wasn't good. The logo didn't look as good because it's so small in the writing.
Hmm.
So I found an automotive company that casts high end logos and emblems and badging for automotive companies, and I had them make those shields, and they're hand color filled with that blue to match the cage. I also wanted a two-tone color. So if you had a blue cage, you could have a blue and chrome shield compared to just a pedal that's engraved in the middle.
yeah,
Like I wanted to have that contrast, because you can have a white center, then you got a blue chrome shield and the blue cage. So you have multiple colors that match, and I had to make it a separate piece to accomplish that and color fill it. So it's not anodized. It is actually hand colored filled with paint enamel
Wow.
to
Yeah.
accomplish that. So
That is like
that's a little
cream.
above and beyond. Nobody does that with the pedal. I have a little detail around on the top. There's a little kind of spike channel engraved in there. You got to kind of see them to hold it to see them. But that was real fun with powder coating because the powder coat shop did those centers 3 times because the paint was too thick, and they stripped them and did them 3 times to get them right. So it could show all that detail. So my next batch of pedals, unfortunately, are not going to have those because it's so hard to powder coat them. And that's basically the reason, because I like the white powder coat. And so this first batch I did, super detailed, it has them. So the 2.0 version, I'm going to have to delete them just so it's easier on the powder coaters. Because he told me, man, I don't want to powder coat any more of these pedals like that. It's too detailed, and he doesn't want to lose that detail and the point of the machining of the little spikes.
Yeah, that's crazy because the powder coat going to fill up that piece right in here.
It's thin, and powder coat's very thick. Yeah. So those came out really good, but that took me 3 tries, or the powder coater 3 tries. I'm not a powder coater. I'm just like, hey, I want it powder coated white. I don't powder coat myself.
Yeah.
Little behind the scenes on that too. So I kind of learned that. Sometimes I make stuff and I go, hey, this is a good idea. I'm going over the top. I'm going to do these little extra engravings. Then I find out maybe that's not a good idea because the powder coat shop hates me and it's not coming out right with the powder coat. With the anodized is fine, but you can't anodize white. And I want white because a lot of guys have white bikes or want that contrast like yourself. And so I need to modify the pedal for powder coat colors, so it's not as hard to do on the coating.
Do you have any cage that is white?
No, I haven't powder coated any cages. All my cages right now are all anodized. And then I have, I did a bunch chrome plated that came out beautiful on the cages, but they're all anodized and chrome. I could powder coat some cages white. Probably white would be the only color, Yeah. There's guys with a million colors. There's guys that have neon, powder coat, you get a million colors. So someone could always get my product and repowder coat the cages. It's
That's
not
true
hard
too.
to do.
Yeah, you could take them apart and do them yourself.
Yeah, and again, that's all stainless steel hardware. Those cage bolts, stainless steel. The bolt on the end of the spindle, stainless steel. So all good hardware. These studs, the studs are stainless steel on the center pedal. So a lot of detail there. And then that last video, I did go over and talk about, I designed that pedal for guys that weigh 300-400 pounds. I have a really good best buddy that's 400 pounds and he rides my pedals, no issues. So went real heavy duty on the spindle.
Yeah.
I also didn't drill out the whole spindle. I only drilled out and tapped enough to hold that bolt. Because if you drill out the whole spindle, it gets weak, and I didn't want them to crack or break.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things I looked at. Our center on that pedal is a lot thicker. Our cages, the thickness are thicker than all the other brands. So I went a little more heavy duty. You are going to take a little bit of a weight penalty, but
they're heavy.
300 pounds. Hopefully you're riding that bike and you can lose 10 pounds and make up for the difference of the pedals. And also have a strong pedal where it doesn't break or it lasts you forever. So that was kind of the point. So when you're riding that and you're a bigger guy or even a lighter guy, everything flexes. The cage flexes, the center flexes on the spindle. And you got 2 bearings riding on that spindle. So, if you can go a little thicker on the center, it's less stress on the bearings. It helps stabilize everything and have a stronger product that's going to last you longer. So getting a lot of little things that people don't know. All my products I try to design for guys that are 300 pounds over, 6'5". The biggest. I look at the worst case scenario. The biggest, baddest BMX rider. I want a part to last that guy, and that's what I build my stuff, and that's why I go the heavier stainless steels and thickness and all that kind of stuff. So, and heat treating, all my stuff. The cages are heat treated. The spindles, everything's heat treated. So a lot of little details that other brands may or may not do. But again, I want to get you the best part, and whoever's riding those pedals, it's going to last you and not break and keep you safe. So that's obviously the goal.
Yeah. They're not going to be the lightest pedals, right? So if you're looking to race or whatever, these might not be the best pedals to put on a race bike.
Yeah.
But if you are a heavier guy or you want something that's going to withstand, some, you know, um, abuse over time, you might be like, maybe you like to, go to the pump track and you want to, go over, hit some jumps or whatever. Like this thing is probably going to last you, I think,
Yeah. So
long term.
Yeah.
that's what I engineered them to do. And I weigh 225 pounds. So, I'm not the lightest guy. And again, I have a lot of friends that are way bigger than me and really big guys. And a lot of those guys are riding the 29s. And again, we
Yeah.
want stuff that's going to be quality and last. It's
Yeah.
you're
Oh, this thing
spending and
guaranteed them
you're
last.
upgrading your bike. I want to give you the best. And those guys aren't typically racing and doing that. We're more cruising and having fun and getting exercise and doing all that stuff. So, but most race pedals now too are clip in, where you clip in with special
Yeah.
shoes. Back in the day, they were running pedals like this before they started doing all that. So, like, I know Pat Koo, I asked him, what pedals do you run? Like, what's everyone running? Oh, we all run clip in. So nobody's even running any pedals that don't clip in.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
they want their feet pretty much bolted to their
To
pedals.
stay on there.
Yeah, and those pedals are really small and light, and there's no way to slip off. So for
Wow.
us, it's more show, more the it's 2023, but this is the 1980s style pedal. But I tried to modernize it and go over the top and a lot more details and add strength to it and do all that kind of stuff. So
Good job, man. Good job.
Any thoughts to like some sort of a spacer here on the side or a bolt that's a different color if people want to go ahead and to customize that color even more? Is there any plans for that?
yeah, so I'm gonna keep those bolts stainless. Just I have pedals that same thing that have black bolts. They're rusted. The spindles started rusting. Everything, and I keep my bike in my garage and keep it pretty clean. So again, I'm gonna keep stainless steel, but I am gonna make some aluminum washers that are very small and tight for the cage bolts. And then
Yeah.
I actually want to make a 12-point D's nut for the end of the spindle because you can look in there.
Oh, yeah, right in here?
Real pretty. Yeah, so I'm going to make that. And then I'm
That'd be
working on
pretty
a
cool.
12-point. I'm working for a 12-point stud on top of the pedal. That'll be different colors. And I'm trying to make it 12-point, but that thing's going to be tiny, and we're going to really push the CNC machines to the limit.
Oh, wow.
So they're going to be very tiny pieces. So
Oh.
I'm trying to not just use the basic one that everyone can get. I want to make I've already designed it, but my CNC shop's seeing if it's possible to even make it that small, and they claim it is, but I haven't got one yet or the samples. So hopefully I can pull that off. So that'd be really cool and another extra detail. And again, I'll offer all the colors on those. So
that's pretty cool. And then if you pick up these pedals, you can also get a little keychain in here. And I think you mentioned before, like this is the only way to get the keychain, right?
Yeah. So every pedal set on our rounds has a keychain, and it's the same exact size of the shield.
Yeah.
That's on the pedal, and I don't sell those separate. So that's something that's a gift when you buy them. Really cool item, and you could hook it on your keychain or keep it as a souvenir. But you cannot buy those. I don't sell those separate. I do have beer bottle keychains that are anodized. I think I sent you guys some, and those I sell separate. Those are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If you drink a cold one with Billet BMX. But those particular ones, I have the skull pedals and has a skull keychain that perfectly matches.
Oh, wow.
it.
Nice.
So on the higher end rounds, it's going to come with that. That's what we're doing. Can we also show the box it comes in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've seen a box that is nicer than the one that this comes in. I mean, you got, first of all, when you open it up, right, there's like kind of like a little, it's a kind of foam insert that kind of protects the pedal on the inside.
But still get the name on top.
But still has the name on there, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a thank you letter on top of that, right? So tell us about this box, because even just making this box took you quite a while.
Yeah, it took me 6 months to make the box. So I have a buddy that his family owns a business that makes cardboard and foam. They make foam, like the foam. There's a foam insert that holds the pedals.
Yeah.
I said, who makes these high-end boxes? I want to make some for my pedals because if you got a high-maintenance girlfriend or wife and they ever buy a high-end purse or shoes, a lot of those luxury items come in a box like that.
Oh
And I would
yeah.
notice that from my girl when she buys expensive stuff or makes me buy her expensive stuff for birthday and
There
Christmas.
you go.
It comes in these really nice boxes, and I was actually when she would get something like that, I was more interested in the box always. Like, man, this packaging is beautiful, and so I really wanted something for my pedals to come in, so it's an experience. Pedals are expensive, and you're making a big upgrade to your bike, and you get this box that's an experience, a luxury item for your bike.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that's like a collector's thing that you could keep in your house, and if you ever take the pedals off or sell them, you could give to the next person. So that's why I wanted to make this box. And my buddy sent me in LA here, and I found this box manufacturer. They make very high-end custom boxes, and he took me in a room, and he had all these high-end boxes that he's made for celebrities like the Kardashians and rappers and music people, and the movie industry would have events for movies and make these boxes as giveaways. And he told me to make that box would cost me $40 to $50 each, my cost. Ordering hundreds of them. I'm like, man, I can't afford to do that and raise my part that much price. And he's
Right?
like, I said, I'm working on small margins and I want
Magnets.
something like this. And he actually forwarded me to a box company in China that made me that box where I can get the price down, where I didn't have to really raise the price of my product, and is very reasonable. So we went with the box. It has Billet BMX on the front. It's magnetic. It's black.
Yeah.
It opens up. Magnetic flap. It says "Got Billet" on the side, and then it has the website on the bottom. And then you open it up. It has a letter. If you ever get something from Louis Vuitton, it comes with a letter, and it's a thank you letter. And so I wanted a thank you letter to my customers. I don't personally buy Louis Vuitton and stuff like that, but I've seen that letter. And if I'm buying a bike part, I'd be like, man, it'd be really cool if I got pedals and it had this, and I got that same experience for my bike. I'll spend money on my bike all day long like that, but I don't typically buy like high-end fashion stuff. But so there's a thank you letter from Billet BMX. It's signed Mr. Billet, which is myself. And it talks about, there's a nice message in there for our customers. And then got the foam insert with both pedals fit. Has a suede liner on top of the
Yeah.
foam. It's
I was,
really
I was,
soft.
I was telling
And then it has
Bernie, I
that
was like,
cover.
feel that.
Yeah.
You know what? I got some knives, and the box
Yeah, it's
that it
nice.
came
And
in,
then
same setup, like with the felt and
there
the
you go. Oh, you
magnet.
got some high-end knives. There you go. And then above that, there's a little square pocket, and then that's where the keychain goes. And so someone might see the pedals and not really see the box, and they get this. And I hope my goal is to take their breath away and then thank them for their purchase and give them this experience when they open that. Or they get it in the mail, and then they open it. They get this really exciting experience. And that's one of the reasons I love bikes. It makes me think of when I was a kid. When I got home from school and I could jump on my BMX, meet up with my friends here at school or whatever to meet up after school and or wherever we're meeting up. And I want that same feeling as an adult. Hopefully you got that when the first time you got it and you opened it. You get this feeling and get really excited about your bike and feeling like a kid again and all those great memories that we've had in our lifetime. And that's why I made that box, to hopefully make someone experience that with these pedals that I hand designed. And how did you feel the first time you saw the box, Kevin?
Yeah, I was kind of blown away. Like I was not expecting that. And I actually filmed a video. I haven't posted it yet, but I have behind me, I got the Supercross, and picked up a set of chrome platforms with the purple cage.
Yeah, that was your first set.
Yeah, so this is like my second set, of these pedals. And I was telling Bernie, like, I never ever saw myself as someone who would buy like expensive parts like this. I mean, I like expensive parts, but I think on our Skyway, I really went expensive because I bought, the Skyway bullseye pedals, which are expensive too. And once I bought that, I was like, crap, everything has to be expensive because I can't have like really nice pedals and then everything else is kind of junk, And then I remember after that build, I was like, man, I was not expecting to spend that much money on it, right? And then when the Supercross came out, and we decided to go with the purple and teal look, and we had some parts from Night Bike Company BMX, and then when I saw your pedals, I was like, those would be perfect because the Supercross is a chrome frame. The chrome is fantastic on this thing. I went with these chrome cranks, and I was like, man, that platform in chrome would look killer, you know? And so that's why I was like, reached out to you and I was like, hey, I want to get some of those pedals. And when I got that box, I literally was like, holy cow, this is crazy that all of this is just going into just the box itself. I mean, it really does feel like a premium product. You know, I mean, it is. You look at it, you look at the pedals and you look at the detail and like the weight and all the stuff that went into it. And then I think the box just sets it over the top, you know? So amazing. Nice job.
That's why you're the bougie
Thanks.
I know Bernie teases me all the time. You're like buying bougie parts again, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ah.
Yeah, you gotta uphold the reputation, Kev.
Yeah. So that took me a long time to make. My stems, I wanted to make a box like that too, but I was behind by 3 months in production, so those just come in a regular box. But something I want to upgrade all my packaging. I don't want to go too crazy where it makes stuff expensive. I just want to keep a good price,
Yeah.
and I'm absorbing that. But I kind of want all my products to have nice packaging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it does take time to develop that. So on the stems, I was a little behind on, and I just had to get product out. But you can see those really cool bags I make that all the axle nuts come in, the C-post clamps.
Yeah.
Pretty much all my stuff that's like under $100 come in that, and then stuff that's over 200, you're gonna get a fancy box on the higher end stuff too.
No, everything is really top notch. I mean, the packaging, the artwork, and again, I'm amazed that it's just you.
We got to talk about this guy right here. This is the guy right here.
My squirrel.
Yeah. If you go back and look at the first video we did, Morgan shared with us his version 2 of the squirrel.
Yeah.
Easy D.
These nuts 2.0.
Yeah, but I mean, just you're just such a talented dude to be able to just have that artistic flair to kind of do the artwork first and then take it into these building parts, and it's been pretty cool to kind of see this journey that you've been on. You've only been in business a year and a half, I think. Is that all?
Yeah, I started got my LLC in January of 2022.
Yeah.
Wow.
So. And to see how far you've come in just, a year and a half is pretty awesome. And, to hear you talk about how you want to have parts, you want to have every part on a bike, Billet BMX.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
I'm focusing on all the components, and my goal is to build a full BMX bike with all the components, and then do my own frame and bars and forks.
Wow.
I'm looking forward to what you come up with.
I got a lot of stuff designed, but I got to make stuff when I get an idea. But then I also have like a production of, I want to make this next, and I got to make that part 100% and then test it so I can actually make it.
Yeah.
If I have, 20 things I want to do and they're only 10% designed, I never have any parts. So I, got to focus on each and every item.
Exactly.
I did build my first big Ripper 2017, 29, chrome plated it.
Saw that.
I put all the parts on it and I got it working. And now I'm seeing, because it's my own bike, like, man, I need to make this, and this. I feel like I'm pressured or running behind. Like, I need to make more stuff.
Yeah.
And, I actually am working on some handlebars that are very cool.
Wow.
And unique, different than pretty much everything out there. So I'm working on that, and those are actually going to also be aluminum.
Oh.
So
nice.
So I'm going to do like those in chrome, aluminum, and I'm also going to do like some anodized colors. So everyone has a 4-piece. It's going to be a 4-piece bar, but a lot of people have 4-piece bars, and they're usually chrome or black. There's a lot of brands that look the same besides the sticker on it. So I'm like, how can I stylize this to have my own thing and put some cool logos and stuff on it to really separate myself? Because again, I don't want to just take a bar everyone has and put my sticker on it. That's not what I do.
Right.
So
well,
I got to make something like that.
Just knowing the amount of attention you put into all the little details, it's going to be really fun to kind of see these, what your brain can come up with some of these parts that haven't been put out there yet. So I know I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
And I mean, I just wanted to thank you so much for partnering with us on this racing build. I mean, it is something that we're working on it together. Like, the parts weren't provided to us for free. Like, we both came in on it, and it's, we're doing a partnership, I feel, on this video. and on this build, just to like, work together to kind of, see what we can do with this, with the Race Inc. and how we can put all, whatever you have up to this point on it. And I think it's going to really look really, just killer once we get started. The problem is we can't get started. People,
I work.
People are waiting. Like, I'm getting messages, man, when is the racing video coming out? When are we going to see that?
Yeah,
and it's like, and we just can't. Like right now, Bernie is like stuck. He's like, his job situation is like they're losing. They lost some people. And
nobody wants
people left. Yeah, people don't want to work, and so he's been putting in like working 6 days a week, sometimes doing double shifts, and he comes home in the evening and he's like, the last thing I want to do is like go in the garage. Like, I'm just going to lie down
and relax and
pet my dog.
I'm
going to drink a beer and go to bed, you know? So
where's that keychain at, man? I'm just going to crack a beer open.
So, I sent you multiple ones for all your keychains.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And in fact, like people aren't going to know this until now, but this is actually the second time we've had to record this episode.
Yeah.
Like we're using a platform that I found to kind of try to get good quality video on both sides. And we recorded an episode a week ago and something happened and one of the videos got lost. And then the only video that they could recover was something that the quality was so bad. It's kind of like you. I kind of feel like that same way when I put out a video. Like I want it to look as good as possible. I want the audio to be clean. I want the picture to be clean. And so when I saw the backup, I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to use this. And so I was like, Morgan, Bernie, I'm so sorry. We got to like meet again.
Me too, yeah.
To kind of do this. So I really appreciate the time that, Bernie, you and Morgan took to kind of do this. Cause I know everyone is just super busy and like you're in California, it's like after 8 o'clock. It's like 9 o'clock now, after 9 o'clock, So I appreciate the time that you've taken with us, but I think what it does is it really gives everybody, the big picture on like, how you go about designing your parts, why it does take 9 months to a year sometimes to get something out because you're just paying attention to all these little details. And I just want to thank you for taking the time 2 weeks in a row to get this one episode.
It's all good. So just like my parts, I do it until it's right. And we lost the video we did, but makes me better at interviewing. I haven't done really a lot of interviews, so and I appreciate the opportunity. And I think it's fun that I get to explain all this stuff because, like the first video, a lot of guys said, "Oh, I really like Morgan from Billet BMX," and they see where I'm coming from and behind the scenes of the brand and how it started and the whole story. So it's a cool thing, and anyone that's passionate about BMX or likes my parts to see that, it's cool to get the opportunity to educate them on, where I started, where I'm going, and come for the ride and be a part of it. And I enjoy everyone's feedback, positive or negative. Even if I get negative feedback, I'm an artist and you get critiqued, and I've had negative feedback my whole life, but that's how you make your art better or a product.
Yeah.
Then you want to have something negative, say it. If I can make that part better to make you happy, even if you don't care to buy it, it's going to make my other BMX, customers happy, and I'll do it to make the best part. So I'm always open ears. You can always DM me or email me. Always here to help, application-wise for your bike. Anything I can do. All my customers are my friends, and I try to take care of you guys as best as I can. And if I don't get back to you, just be patient. I am one guy, so I'm either shipping orders or answering emails or designing the next thing. But I'm always working, and I try to take care of everyone, and I will get back to you at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, hey guys, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much. Consider hitting that like button, sharing this with someone else that is into BMX, and being a subscriber to the channel if you're not already a subscriber already. And hopefully, this gives you an idea of more of who Morgan is and how he comes through with some of his parts and what it takes. And we just want to thank you guys for just supporting the channel. And, this podcasting is something.
Thank you.
It's new for us. We're trying something out. So we appreciate Morgan for being kind of like, not quite our guinea pig, but somebody that's willing to kind of jump on this new journey with us to try to, test some things out, try some new things, and then it also gives him a chance to kind of share his story. So thanks, Morgan, and thank you at home for watching.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. Until the next one, hey, take care of one another, be safe, and aloha.
Aloha.